Hello, welcome to Getchyapulls number 75. We're three-fourths of the way to a hundy.
Holy shit. Did you ever think we'd make it this far?
Yeah, I think I did.
Well, I mean, you would hope, you would hope. Otherwise, you would have a very low bar set for the ambition there.
Yeah, I mean, either one of two things would happen. And A, you think we'd get tired of it, which I knew we wouldn't. Or B, something, one of us would have a great life advancement and we just didn't have enough time to pod.
Yeah, and
And that didn't happen either.
neither has happened, so we're still here.
Yes, if before 100 we get too busy to pod, that's good. But anyways.
Yeah, no celebration. No, we promise no celebration for episode number 75 as we busted the nut, so to speak, on that one on issue 69. So,
yeah, plus 75. That's not a special number. It's just
an excuse for a comic company to
exactly.
try to put a tag on there and sell extra books.
It's not round 10, 20, 50, 100. 75 is just like, well, it's a celebration a while.
So, 75 is the milestone. It's like, well, we might make it to 100 at this rate. That's what you're really celebrating.
That's true. But yeah, happy we're issue 75. We got news, we got books. Start out with some news. First we'll start with sketchy movie news. Spider-Man, they announced that Spider-Man number 4 and 5, they said as of right now, Andrew Garfield has nothing to do with them. That's what they said after 3, that his stuff's done. And number 4 is going to be a Venom standalone, and number 5 is supposed to be the Sinister Six movie without Spider-Man, which is really weird sounding to me. It's maybe not so much the Venom, but the Sinister Six without Spider-Man. I'm a little sketched. I think, with Fox deciding that the X-Men movies, and they're even saying now that Fantastic Four, they will find a way to jimmy it in to cross over with the X-Men at some point. But with the X-Men movies, of course, they actually announced doing a movie called X-Men Apocalypse, which will be one of the Apocalypse storylines. That's coming out. Like, they have the room to, they're going to do X-Force and Deadpool. They have the room to do all this, but I really feel like Sony is just trying to, jimmy in a little universe here. They're trying to manufacture a Spider-Man universe that I don't know if it has the legs to do, all these different things without Spider-Man in it.
Especially when you look at, I gotta say, and I'm usually the guy that's the most excited about a comic book movie trailer of any kind, but that Spider-Man 2 trailer wasn't that hot looking. I mean, the Spider-Man costume looked great. A lot of CGI on the Spider-Man action. I thought the Green Goblin looked like shit. Thought Rhino looked like shit. I thought Electro, looked kind of cool, but it's certainly very different from what you'd expect. I think it's got all the potential in the world to be a giant clusterfuck. I'm not trying to shit on it in advance, but just based on the trailer, that's my opinion.
Yeah, there certainly does look to be a lot going on in it, so yeah, the trailer definitely made me less excited for the movie than I was before, but who knows. Sometimes the trailers do lie to you, but it is just thinking of all the villains in there. I mean, the last time, especially since we all know, the last time Spider-Man decided to go a few villains with Spider-Man 3, and it sucked a huge cock. So, it is a little sketchy, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But then moving on some more, we just talked about the X-Men. Big thing. Some comic news. Actually, I guess going a little TV. Just commenting a little bit on. We got to see the origin of Flash on Green Arrow, and that might have been the best Arrow episode yet.
Man, it gets better every week. I think they've really hit it's the show right now as far as comic book stuff. I think it is my favorite DC or Marvel adaptations going right now.
Oh man, I like it way better than Shield for a myriad of reasons, but Yeah, I mean,
I put that on par with the animation and everything too, because there's been times where the animated stuff was the best stuff out there, but right now Arrow's carrying the flag, man.
yeah, it's been good. I really liked the. Thought it was great. They were able to tell a story that was all about Arrow, but then you also get the Flash origin in there. In the episode, in the mid season finale. So you go out on that and get you excited for the Flash show. This is going to be from the same executive producers and everything. And I think Jeff Johns actually going to have more to do with it than even does with Arrow with some of the writing stuff. He actually wrote that episode, and I think also co-wrote the Flash pilot episode that was supposed to just air next, but they've decided that since they're going with the Arrow series, they're going to hold it off and just debut it as the first episode of the first season for Flash. So, yeah, I liked it a lot. It was something comic booky that, just with Arrow, something that has to do with the comics that just keeps getting better. So, that rules.
It's been a nice, overarching story. It started out with an interesting twist, and telling his origins, and it just, the more they build the mythology of the show, the better it gets. And a big payoff with Deathstroke there at the end was fantastic.
That was pretty awesome.
So, he's been involved pretty much the whole time, but you got to see a really major event with him there at the last moment of the episode, and that was really badass.
Yeah. Yeah, I've liked it a lot. And you get to see his mask, which is awesome. Get to put the mask on, so he's basically fully become Green Arrow now. And the second half of season 2, I'm pretty pumped for that. And then some comic news. DC announced some cancellations this week. One unfortunate, one not so much. They're canceling Batman: The Dark Knight, which is crazy. Which is also one of those things people want to shit on comic book publishers. It's a book that's selling well, but it's the least critically acclaimed of the Batman books, and they don't want to overflood too much with the Batman Weekly coming up, so they canceled it even though they're making money on it. So when you think about every decision they make, it's for money. Just think about that. They actually did something that...
Yeah, no, it's a good point, because that's a book it's really struggled to find a voice. It's had some moments where it looked like it could have been good, but it never really got there, and it just really... I didn't finish the second arc because you dropped it, but from what I saw of it, it didn't interest me, and the reviews pretty much backed up everything I thought about what I'd already read of it, so I just never pursued it any further.
Yeah, with Batman being so great, with Detective as being good lately, and then Batman and Robin, even though for it's become Batman team up. I haven't really read it since the death of Damian, but it was really good before then, and who knows, it might still be good, but it's that is one of those things. How long can they do that they just keep doing the Batman and someone book? But anyways, they got rid of it to make room for Batman Weekly, and then the sad one is the cancellation of Animal Man, which isn't exactly... It's not exactly a cancellation. They're just ending the book. Lemire said he was done telling the story, and even though it's not a huge seller, it's within that 15 to 20 DC titles that are hovering around where they could cancel them or may not, but he said he was done with his story, and they decided just not to get a new writer and move on, that they would just let him finish his out. So, that's cool. And you get a whole big volume. Think about it. Grant Morrison did around 30 issues. Lemire's ending, I believe, with issue 29. So,
yeah,
that's...
it is 29.
Yeah, that's a good run on the book.
Oh, yeah, and on the positive, yes, you get that collected run. I'll have a full run of it. I've been getting it since the first issue, and I still have that, for a modern comic that's been released pretty recently, that first issue, still holding at a decent price, because, it ended up being more popular than they thought it was going to be, and it's really one of my favorite DC books, so I'm really sad to see that ending. My wallet's always happy when I can free up some space, because I might be able to try out something new, and of course with the Batman Weekly and other stuff coming, definitely like that new Punisher and some other stuff I'd really like to check out, but,
Yeah, it's true. There's a ton of Marvel books about to start up. Really, all DC's announced is they're going to have the Batman Weekly, they're going to have Suicide Squad, Amanda Waller, which...
Why does she need a third book that she's a star in? She's not that interesting. She's alright, but damn it.
Yeah, which by this time next year, we'll be announcing the cancellation of that. You just know that's not going to hold an audience. It would have to be just mind-blowingly good to stick around for more. DC seems to have if something really blows, it can get canceled in just 7 or 8. I know one of those, not the one, I guess Gail Simone's doing the movement, and the one that was supposed to be like the opposite of it, teen
Yeah, that whatever the
millionaire,
teen
teen
millionaires,
trillionaire, whatever it's
got
called.
shat
That got the
on
boot in
so
like
hard.
5 episodes, in like 5
just
issues.
Diarrhea in its
Yeah.
face. I never read it, so I don't want to try to bury it, but everyone else did it.
Yeah, but in general, a lot of these books, I mean, even like Secret 7, that made it less than 10 issues, I believe.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Amanda Waller. It's gonna get probably 12 or less.
Yeah, I mean, I see why they want to push her. She's a unique character. She is one of their strongest females. She's black. She's a woman. You know, like that's all things that they want to promote as far as like being diverse, and people don't have a lot of heroes in those brackets to look up to. So that's cool. I mean, that's good that they're trying it, but I just like
she's really prominent in Suicide Squad already. So
and JLA.
Like, yeah, I mean, with JLA, which once that becomes Justice League Canada, I mean, I guess she won't.
Right.
Probably as prominent. And it is cool to hear also that Animal Man is going to be on the Justice League Canada team, and Lemire's going to be writing that book. So,
that one may stick around then.
Yeah, so I mean, you do get to, still see him in the U. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of Amanda Waller, like is she needed, like is her character. I mean, somebody could come in and just write a badass book. Who's to say?
Oh, certainly. I mean, the potential's there, but it's just I think it's kind of unnecessary.
It's really set up, and especially with like. They're not even just calling it Amanda Waller or calling it something like it's Suicide Squad, calling Amanda Waller like it's Suicide Squad. I don't think that's popular enough to where people are going to be like, oh, another book about the Suicide Squad. Like, I got to get this.
Yeah, we love the Suicide Squad, but it looks like from the online reviews, we're about the only one.
It's not a great... It gets reviewed pretty mediocrely, and it's not like a great seller, so...
I just love it because it's different. It's like a fun DC book, and they don't really have enough of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just...
criticize them,
It's just an action book. Like, they have... DC doesn't... I mean, a lot of the books are the same, but they do get criticized, I think, a little unfairly, because they do offer, like, a lot of stuff that's different. I think one of their things is they publish so many books. I mean, you look at them and say, okay, they're publishing, like, 50-something books every month, and then Marvel publish about the same, but you also look at, like, I mean, out of their 50-something books, it's like 6 with Batman, 5 with Superman. It's not that many characters. There's definitely more different characters in Marvel books. So.
Sure.
And especially now with Swamp Thing, I've heard that it's, like, really fun and stuff, and we haven't been reading it lately, but get caught up on the collecteds eventually.
Yeah, Charlie Soule's just kicking ass everywhere.
But they're different, and, Animal Man's been different, and Batwoman has been different, so they have some stuff that's not exactly the same.
That's one thing I hate to see go about Animal Man is just that it brought something different to the DC. It was one of my favorite books, so just very, very sad to see that ending.
It is weird, too, like, how in one way you do want everything kind of tied together. It is fun to feel like everything's happening in the same universe. But then again, like the books that aren't really tied to the universe, even though they're in the DCU, like Animal Man, Swamp Thing, Batwoman previously, Wonderwoman, like those seem to be some of the best stuff where you're not like every few months getting jimmied into an event or a crossover.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with events and crossovers, but it's like you gotta use that shit sparingly, and they don't, and therefore it loses its impact. It's like, you remember, do the wrestling fan analogy. When you go back to kids, you had the WWF and you had the WCW. Everybody that grew up in the 90s remembers this. It was all over the world. And so when a guy went from WWF to WCW, it was a dream match, right? Everybody freaked out because you'd never seen it. Yeah. Well, as that progressed, they started going back and forth and back and forth. It didn't mean anything. Nobody cared after a while. Nobody gave a shit.
No, the WCW doesn't exist. There's not a dream match to be had.
Exactly. So what you have with this DC Marvel scenario with the crossovers is that the more they do them, the less impact they have, because you know that no real consequence is coming. It's just a gimmick to sell books.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, if you imagine 20 years ago, which, I mean, they did some crazy crossovers. They did try to, like, Jimmy Wolverine or Ghost Rider so into every book back then just because they were selling. But there would have been a time where if you were reading Spider-Man and Wolverine showed up for an arc, that would be awesome. Now, if he showed up, you would just be like, oh, well, this might be cooler. Then again, I may have to buy 4 books to figure out what happens with this, so it's not that cool, actually.
Yeah, it could be cool if it helps advance the story they're already telling. If it doesn't, and it's just an excuse
most likely
to get you
a
to
reason
read
to get
another
you,
book,
to get you
then
to buy
fuck that.
Wolverine the X-Men if you're not buying it, yeah, so. But yeah, then they also announced, which this is one I have no idea how to feel about yet, but we'll find out. It's not launching for a while, is their book, it's their 5 years later book. I think they actually announced the title. It's called DC something.
Something future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. I can't remember.
It's going to be 5 years later after like the whatever current time we're in the New 52, which it's Free Comic Book Day. They're going to have a preview of it. Or actually, I think the book may be launching on Free Comic Book Day. That'll be the number 1.
Well, they're also doing it in Batman. Like they're doing, like Jeff Johns is doing his own 5 years later issue.
Right. So yeah,
it must be tied together.
Yeah, you would think so, but they announced that. They've got on it Lemire's on it with Dan Jurgens, Azzarello's on it, which I didn't know. So I mean, that's some good talent on the book. One of the other things is Batman Beyond. They've got the Batman Beyond suit you see on the cover of it. Now, could that just be that Bruce is using that suit? You know, because I mean, 5 years from now, it's certainly like, I mean, I guess Terry McGinnis could pop up in the New 52 in 5 years, and just his timeline will be different since he's never really been tied to comic continuity at all. It's always been animated, which is what, you know, the digital first Terry McGinnis is just tied to the animated series.
I want to say the Batman Beyond suit has made an appearance in the New 52 already, possibly in Scott Snyder's stuff, just a very small cameo.
It's possible, looking into the future or something like that.
Well, no, it's just like an emergency suit that he used to get out of a fucking jam, and like, no, never mind. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Smallville. Confusing because they're all coming out at the same time, and you got to keep these two universes separate in your head. But no, he did use like a mech Batman suit in the Snyder run.
Yeah.
In the Court of Owls when they had all surrounded him and Alfred in the Batcave. But
yeah, and this in the preview, he's got the straight up Batman Beyond suit, so. Is that Terry McGinnis? Is it just Bruce, a different thing? I mean, I guess in all reality, I mean, it's one of those things that's cool, but it's set to 5 years later, and obviously they're not going to keep that same continuity because they're still going to have books coming out in 5 years. So it might be cool, it might not. I don't know. That'll be one that I might get just to see, but I'm not exactly pumped up for it.
Yeah, it makes me hesitant. I mean, definitely there's a strange concept because the risk involved when you do any sort of time lapse back and forth storyline. Like you said, the real time of getting to 5 years in the future and it still being the same. Now, I will say the Young Justice cartoon did some storylines like that actually ended up being really good, but I with you, we'll take a wait and see approach.
Yeah, but that's it for that. It's all the DC announcements. They still have room. I'm still waiting. They should be announcing some new books before too long because there's still some books they announced to end months ago that are finally getting to that point where they're ending. And they've announced these new ones. So, I mean, I heard there is a rumor that they're just not going to have 52 books, that they've just possibly decided that keeping that number... You know,
keeping that arbitrary number for no good reason.
Yeah, New 52, I mean, at this point, is just more of a brand than it means anything anyways. It's just what they get to call it for, I guess, as long as they're going to call it that. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's the New 52 universe. That's what it's known as.
But yeah, I mean, there is, like, that rumor, too, that they may not be launching new books. They may just... Because, I mean, they have, like, had some... I mean, even with, then another one we didn't even talk about, Talon is getting canceled, and that's a bummer. I think it's sold okay, not great, but it's sold okay, and it's, you know, from what I've read, it's been pretty good. But, I mean, I guess they just had a story to tell, is what they're saying, and they've told it, and...
Yeah, it was James Tynion's baby, clearly, and it was really good, like, a sweet other little corner of the Gotham universe. If you're a fan of the Bat stuff, it was top tier, but... if it's ending, rather it end that on what the guy that came up with it wanted it than some jackass take it over and fuck it up.
Yeah, and then also, if you think about it, too, just for the purpose of using the court, it'll be nice for them to disappear for a while, so the next time they pop up in Snyder's Batman run, like I'm sure they will, that they'll, it'll be cool and exciting instead of, them always kind of hovering around in the books. But yeah, it seems like they may just not be having as many books, which is fine. Because, I mean, other than Talon, and then you say Justice League of America, which is one that you knew they would eventually launch anyways, they were just holding off on. Almost everything else they've launched since the first run. I mean, the majority of the stuff has not worked. Most of those books, I mean, they tried the Vibe book and the Katana book, and then nobody likes them, and they're either canceled or on their way out.
It's just they find strange characters to push. Again, I understand, like, okay,
you want to make new characters,
minority, you know, like you got like Katana's an Asian chick. It's badass.
Yeah.
I mean, like I bet her book was probably okay, but you know, it's like
it got reviewed terribly, man. Those are one of those things where also too, like, DC's weird about, they throw on, like, they have like a core of like writers, it seems like, not the top guys, but the people after that. Their books get canceled, and then they just recycle the same people on new books over and over after they get off one. Like, a book's not selling, like, you've got like Anna Cindy's on Green Arrow, and nobody likes it, so they move her over to Catwoman. Now nobody likes it, and there's rumors somebody's going to take over Catwoman before long, and then you just assume she's probably going to get thrown in one of these new books. Like, they do a good job, obviously, finding new talent, but you also, I mean, I guess some of that too is probably they're just loyal to certain people that have worked there forever.
Sure.
But you don't want to like launch a new book like Katana. If you're going to have this new character that you're like asking people to buy into, you probably want to put like somebody really good on there, or like a brand new voice, and not somebody who's been writing, for 20 years and hasn't had anything sell that well in 20 years. But,
yeah,
you just
I also
want to
find
throw
it
them on
interesting.
something.
You got characters like Shazam and Martian Manhunter who don't have their own books.
Yeah, I mean, they've got big characters that don't have books.
And it's just odd that Vibe gets a book, but whatever, it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, Shazam is obviously one they're holding on to for whatever reason that just should have a book. Martian Manhunter, he could easily do his own book. I mean, he's pretty prolific in JLA and I guess in Forever Evil right now, but he'll eventually need his own book. And then there's other people too that you could just do. Like Katana makes more sense than a bunch of the people they've done. They've got a lot of people, but yeah, we'll see. But anyways, that's the news for this week. On to books that do actually exist.
Yes, and a fucking stack of them between illness and brokenness.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks
We got
worth of books.
Double edition here.
Yeah, we'll try to run through these pretty quick. Satellite Sam is issue 5. Is the end of the first storyline of it. I liked it pretty decent. It hasn't been the juggernaut book that I thought it was going to be. Like, when I heard the premise and that Fraction's writing it, I was really pumped. Thought it was awesome. And I've liked it okay, but it's not on par with a bunch of these other Elite Image books. And also with his very own Sex Criminals, which is an Elite Image book that he writes, it's not nearly as good as it.
It's kind of going for the same pervy vibe in both. The Satellite Sam's got a whole different thing going on with the black and white and like the 50s setting.
Yeah.
It's, Sex Criminals was clearly just the better book of what he was going for there. However, I kind of would think Satellite Sam may read better collected because there's just there's little plot advancement and a lot of dialogue in most issues.
Yeah, it may get better, but honestly, the story hasn't been super interesting to me. And also, like, a choice they made to where they don't really do, they don't do dialogue bubbles. Like, it's hard to read sometimes. Like, I mean, it's not like an idiot. Like, I figure it out, but you don't just look. You have to kind of search to make sure you're going to the right thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also a little tough on the eyes, too.
Just the black and white print.
Just trying to figure out, what you're doing. So it makes it just less enjoyable to read overall. But that came out. Trillium from Vertigo. It's another flipper back and forth issue. But it actually gives clear directions on this one. It's one that's upside down, and it tells you which one to read first through the dialogue of the story, which is good. Basically, lets you know you need to read this first, and it's comes back from the end of the last. What is this? Is this issue 6? I think we're about halfway through. Issue number 5. I believe it's a tenner, so that's the halfway point. The last issue, if you remember, it's been a minute, but there's like a huge explosion, and in this issue, you get back to our two main characters, and they're back and trying to figure out what happened, basically, and remember what was going on. So, it's a good-ish.
Trillium's a really fucked up book. It's very...
it's really weird.
Very Twilight Zone-y. If you like Underwater Welder, it's kind of in the same Twilight Zone tribute vein, I'd say.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Velvet number 2 was badass. Brubaker and Epting
Dude,
kicking
that book
ass.
is so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it really reminds you, not to downplay, because their Captain America was beautiful and awesome, and probably the best cap ever. But it also shows you with like that same vibe, given a completely clean slate to tell like their completely own story, like what they can do. And just 2 issues in, it's one of those books that I can't imagine not having. It's so good. So it's badass. Brubaker, his specialty, he really knows the spy genre, and Epting draws. That's his specialty too. He draws it great. So
Yeah,
it just adds
that
up to
is
greatness.
what the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show needs to be.
Yeah,
more of, and
exactly.
less of what it is. Not that I dislike it, but
It needs to be. We've just moved on in time. Like even Arrow, Agents of Shield is more WB than Arrow is,
Mm-hmm.
and not that Arrow isn't. It's still soap opera, but Agents of Shield is seriously like if you took a trip back to 2002, and we're putting a fucking superhero show on. Like it has. I mean, even though the character's a little bit older, it has the same vibe as like Smallville had in the early days.
Right.
But it's people that are like not in high school.
Yeah, it's
interesting. And you
yeah.
can especially see like Whedon only wrote like the pilot and then kind of oversees the show.
And
It
looks
very much
like
seems like people imitating. Like if I was going to write a script for Joss Whedon, what would it be like?
Yeah, it also looks like they kind of knew what they were doing for the first half of the season and had that all planned out, and then like had no idea where they're going with the second half of the season because they've come out and made all these announcements. It's like, oh, don't worry, we've listened and we're going to have more Marvel cameos and more. It's going to be more fun. And this,
they also
that,
set the
other.
false expectation after that first episode. You're like, oh, there's Samuel Jackson. Oh, there's Maria Hill. And then there's really been none of that since then. It's like the cameo is like, we found an artifact from one of the movies, which is fine. They don't need those people in every single episode, but they just don't. I mean, it doesn't feel, like I said, man. It does. I haven't stopped watching, but I've came close. It doesn't feel anything different than if it was just a show. And it's really weird on ABC. It feels like a show that would come on Fox. One of those shows that you're like, oh, J.J. Abrams is making it. And man, this is not very good. If you just took out Coulson from the mix and took out Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and just called it like U.S. Agents, and it was a show on Fox, and that's what the show is to me.
That's what it would be.
There's nothing Marvel about it.
I mean, interesting you compare that to Arrow because, like, DC, like, doesn't give a fuck. Like, they've just let them use pretty much anybody and everybody from the DC universe. Yeah. And, like, on the flip side, they have been so, like, too conservative. And I know why, because they don't want to fuck up the characters from the movies. But now, clearly, they know they've made a mistake with that because they're saying that they're coming off of that. Like, okay, the big terrorist organization is not Hydra or AIM. Like, why not? Like, why try to create something new for the TV show when you have this established shit that's not, like, you're not going to fuck up anything from the movies. Like, those are giant organizations, Like, what? Anyway, back to the comic reviews. Sorry for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. rant.
Yeah, and then on my last indie book was, mine, Lazarus, number 5. Beginning of the second arc, you get to find out a little bit more about Forever and her past. On the front, you see Kid Forever. You get to see her training in her early days, start to learn a bit more. The mystery around her, if you've been reading the book, then you know that obviously she's different than everybody else. You don't know like what exactly she is. She has her family, and it's pretty obvious she's not just a kid they had. There's something up with her, and you get like a few more clues in this one. But Lazarus is badass. It's really hard to pick like what my favorite Image book is, because there's just so many good ones right now.
There, that one
it's among the best. I mean, you take that, you take Velvet, you take Fatale, obviously Still Walking Dead, which we're about to get to, Sex Criminals. There's just a lot of really good Image books. Revival. There's just so many good Image books right now.
Yeah.
And speaking of one,
Walking Dead number 118, All Out War Part 4 of 12. They're already rolling through this sumbitch.
Yeah, it is coming out bi-weekly. It is moving a lot faster than normally things do in The Walking Dead.
Well, and also, like, Walking Dead's pretty notoriously bad for not meeting deadlines, apparently. So, like, they're shocked that all of these have come out on time, because when they announced they were going to bi-monthly, I heard a lot of people kind of snickering under their breath, like, yeah, we'll fucking see.
Yeah, especially when they're like, Kirkman, you have 9 jobs now. When you had 1 job, this thing wasn't always on time. What the fuck, bro?
Right.
But
looks like he's learned to manage his time, apparently, because, yeah, it was great. Great issue. I really saw Maggie kicking some ass. I can't remember. I think Gregory is his name, the guy that was the leader at the Hilltop.
yeah, I think so.
And he's a real fucking coward pussy that fucking sold him out to Negan.
And Maggie basically tells him so.
Yeah.
And lets everybody know the deal. Everybody not him. Let them know the deal. It's like, if you want to be slaves forever, which is basically what they are, then, do this. Like, but if you want to, it's like, if you don't want to be, then it's like, we're going to have to rise up, and some people might get killed, but that's what we got to do.
Yeah, great stuff. The war with Negan continues.
Yeah, absolutely. Then moving on to Marvel, I got double Wolverine the X-Men. Wolverine the X-Men Annual #1, which came out a couple weeks ago, but I picked up. It was cool. It was what you hope an annual to be. It wasn't.
It's everything you want an
Yes.
annual to be, actually.
It was just, basically a one-shot, like, that had little to do with, like, the ongoing story, which, like I said, is what you want. It's just mostly about Kid Gladiator and, what he's up to. You got, he'd been in the book and been a character, but you find out the dynamic between him and his dad. There's a whole story about him, so now when he just pops up in Wolverine the X-Men, he'll mean a lot more than he did before the annual came out. So, success there. And then Wolverine the X-Men #39, which is the countdown, 42 is the last one, so...
We're almost there.
Yeah, we're almost there. Sadly, Jason Aaron ending the run. Jason Latour is taking over, whose only work that we've read we like, so probably going to give him a chance, but it's good. Never read it yet, so big spoilers, but Wolverine and Cyclops got to team up for part of it, so you get some of that, so it's good.
Awesome. They kind of teased that in the Battle for the Atom, so I like to see that they're still keeping that thing going.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
Outstanding. And, well, staying in the X universe, had 2. One being Amazing X-Men #2. And
It's amazing.
this is just a really crazy, like, nonsensical, fun book. Ed McGuinness killing it with the art. You still get the vibe that you know and love from the Jean Grey School team. But you also get the addition of North Star, and you also get Firestar, so a couple of stars.
There you go.
And they actually go to hell and fight some demons, and Wolverine finds himself in heaven, and we finally see Nightcrawler return. So it was it's a winner. I'd say continue picking that one up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I had Uncanny X-Men #15.INH. Was funny enough, I didn't want this book because I didn't give a fuck about the Inhumanity tie-ins.
Yeah.
But they put it in my box anyway, and I was like, well, hell, I'll take it, because why not? It's a girls' night out issue, and quite fucking entertaining. And Muji just...
I discovered a 2-week-old Powerade that I left sitting here on the table that I'm happy to say is still 3/4 full. It's going to get drank.
Only on Getchyapulls. But what we had was essentially, you really got some nice advancement with the relationships between all the females at the Scott Summers side of the X-Men camp. You had Emma Frost, you had the Cuckoos, you had Irma, who is the former Cuckoo who cut her hair and dyed it because she wanted to be different. You had Kitty Pryde. You have some of the new chicks, Tempest, one of them, and of course Jean Grey and Ileana Rasputin. So they go out for a ladies' night on the town, shopping and drinking and such, and it's quite entertaining. And at the end, of course, like, this kid fucking goes off in a Terrigen bomb and has powers, and they have to stop him. But that's really it's a backdrop to the banter and shit that goes on leading up to it, and really the character development.
Yeah, so that's how they jimmied it in to call it an Inhumanity tie-in.
Right, yeah. So I was very happy I got
it. Jimmied it in about 11 times on this podcast.
Well, Jimmy that motherfucker in. You've jimmied in.
Yes.
Many times. Moving right along, we had Deadpool #20, but next, the big third arc has now ended, and Brian Posehn and Jerry Dugan's run still going strong. This was another of those retro issues. We've seen a Demon in the Bottle copy. We've seen a Heroes for Hire parody. And now this is a Black Panther parody where Deadpool goes on a Wakandan vacation and it's all kinds of wacky. And of course, after losing his family, they play it very serious. Like in the beginning, he's like, I don't feel like having an adventure this week, so here's a classic.
Yes, nice.
And then at the end, like, damn it, sneeze all over the place. Thank God for Bags and Boards.
Bags and Boards, yes. You'd be down a comic.
But, and at the end in the letter column, he even writes, don't feel like, because Deadpool, quote unquote, always answers the letters, and he says, don't feel like letters today, pals. And so, continuing that great run. And then we go to Guardians of the Galaxy number 9. New artist is taking over for this second arc. It's an Infinity tie-in. Kind of see what their part was in helping stop the Builders and the invasion. And Angela's still helping out the team.
Neil Gaiman still collecting checks.
That's right. A lot done in this issue to also actually do some character development and just, you know, between the team relationships. That was really the best part of it. It was a good issue. It wasn't my favorite, but it had some great one-liners in it, so I'd recommend continue picking up Brian Bendis' Guardian of the Galaxy. It's very good. Pablo Francavilla, I think is his name. Francesco Francavilla is the artist, and it's very different, but it's cool.
Yeah, Brian Bendis is obviously, you know, stays up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
How does the man do it? Possibly he's inhuman.
That's possible.
Ooh.
The least you can do is buy his books. He's going to die soon.
At this rate, quite possibly. Best Marvel book of the week, I thought Captain America number 14. And Rick Remender just keeps kicking ass. And this one really, like, if you've been reading Marvel, it also ties some shit they did several years ago in Daniel Way's Wolverine Origins, actually, with Nuke and Cap. Like, the first time Nuke came back, and it all came full circle here, but they really have a fucking major, like, verbal joust and a fisticuff joust, and it's, like, very political, but in the Cap spirit without being political or taking a side, just asking all the important questions, you know.
Who drew that cover?
Let's see. Carlos Pacheco is the interior artist. Dean White did the cover art there. That's fantastic.
That's cool.
Yeah. Cap's got Nuke down. About to decapitate him with the shield, actually. Cap's been through a lot lately, and he fucking finally loses it when he has to deal with this asshole. And if it wasn't for the Falcon, Cap would have fucking cut Nuke's head clean off. So Cap's showing a moment of weakness there, and I like it when you can humanize these guys sometimes.
Absolutely.
In the right moment, anyway.
On DC, do you have the DC books?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. You just had them buried up. I was like...
Yeah. I had to.
Okay, cool. I was like, what the heck? So you go start out with a Green Arrow, number 26. The Outsiders War, number 1.
Badass issue.
Liked it a lot. Yeah, dude, Lemire has really turned Green Arrow around. It's been...
using a couple characters from the show, but like crafting his own universe, like Shadow's there and Diggle's there, but it's like, it's different.
They're different than they are in the show, and what they're... the parts they're playing, the story's different. And yeah, liked it a lot. At first, when I even thought about them going back to the island, I guess just from all my real, like, Arrow stuff that I've, you know, come in contact with, other than the time of Green Arrow in Smallville, which he was very different from everything else, yeah. He was definitely the Smallville universe version. In the Smallville universe, everyone's sad. But anyways,
everyone's a sad supermodel.
Everyone's somehow a sad supermodel, yet you think of them as like being big and bright. It's one of the weird Smallville things. You didn't think about it really as being an emo show, but they were sad a lot.
Yeah, no, it was just charming.
But anywho, when I first saw going back to the island, I was like, man, I read Green Arrow Year 1 not that long ago when I first started reading comics, you know, hardcore, which is just still only been like a year and a half. And then watching the show and reading this, I'm just like, I don't fucking want them to ever go back to the island ever again, because that's all they ever do.
Tired of the fucking island.
But this is good. It's totally different. There's a big secret on the island I don't know about. And so that's what they do. They go back to try to get an artifact and looks like it's going to be a big crazy adventure. And yeah, definitely read Green Arrow.
You also find out what the Outsiders are, which if this might entice you because it's kind of cool, is that it's like various different weapons clans. So like,
Yeah.
there's the Arrow clan, there's the Shield clan, the Sword clan, etc. And so we see some very interesting entanglements between them.
Yeah, absolutely. Then over to a Nightwing number 26, which has stayed good. Nightwing, he's one of the central figures of Forever Evil, yet the regular Nightwing book is all pre-Forever Evil. It's all stuff that led up to it, which is good, because he still gets to have his adventures in here, and you get to see what's going on over there. So I wish more books would do stuff like this. I really wish the big events, I mean, I get that it makes them sell more. I mean, that's why you get a bunch of 0-year tie-ins, because simply having 0 year in the title sells more books. With a Batman logo on the title of a Green Lantern Corps, it's going to make it sell more, as it did. But Nightwing seems like the perfect way to do it, because it's easy to accept. Hey, this was just a couple months before that, so it's good. You get 2 different stories of Nightwing that are both good. But I like this a lot. I like Kyle Higgins has been really fleshing out the extra characters in the book more. You are getting to learn more about his roommates and stuff like that, and it's a pretty good book. It's also, I would consider it a book that's fun a lot of the times, which is different than some of the other books.
Yeah, I really dig it.
Over to Justice League 25, which is a Forever Evil tie-in, which, once again, for the books that we're getting, they're doing a good job on these tie-ins, because this Justice League tie-in is great. What they've been doing so far in Justice League and JLA is really giving you, either in JLA more of what's going on with some of the characters now, in between the issues of Forever Evil, and Justice League has been concentrating just on the on Ultraman and Owlman. You got basically origin issues for both of them already, and in this issue, you get more of that with Owlman, and you get to find out what his real motive is for coming to Earth, to our Earth, and that he's pretty fucked up.
He is pretty fucked up. And you also see that the crime syndicate's ultimate undoing is going to be pretty obvious, because there's some conniving, backstabbing motherfuckers. They can't fucking get along.
Yeah, it's real. Yeah, I mean, they've got, outside of the fact that, I mean, everybody's got some issues. Their Green Lantern, what's his name? Power Ring.
Yes, Power Ring.
Power Ring is afraid to use his powers. Their Flash is a real dickhead. Johnny Quick's a dickhead that's just out doing his own thing, and just really trying to impress his 2-inch tall girlfriend. That's kind of his whole thing. With Atomica, they're kind of on their own, and then between Ultraman, Owlman, and what's her name? They're Wonderwoman. Superwoman. That's what I thought. They've got a little love triangle thing going on here that is definitely going to be the undoing of them. And not to mention Owlman, on top of the fact that he has secretly, we found out in an earlier issue, he secretly has gotten Superwoman pregnant, which is going to make Ultraman go insane. He also has this weird-ass thing where he had, his own Dick Grayson in his universe, his own Nightwing, that fucking got killed. And so he's really, obsessed with having this Dick Grayson Nightwing, be his partner so that he can have a family again. So these guys are all super disturbed, outside of them just having, terrible motives. They're also all really fucked up, which is pretty cool. I mean, I've never, like I said, I haven't read any past comics of the Crime Syndicate, so I'm finding all this stuff brand new, but it's crazy that, their whole families are fucked up. You find out Owlman, his parents were real dickheads. His mom was just a super cunt and ran over his dad, and they were broke because they spent all their money all the time, and that he fucking got together with Alfred and fucking killed Bruce and the parrots himself just so that
fucked up.
He could get the money. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy, but I really like the tie-ins of it that have been in Justice League and JLA, so...
Yeah, I mean, JLA, the first 2 weren't as good as this one was. I thought this one, for once, going in to stay with the Forever Evil tie-ins real quick, JLA number 10, on the other side of that, finally gave Stargirl an issue worthy of, like, okay, now I can get behind this chick.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and they've kind of put her in a position, not to, maybe that was the long-form storytelling, you know, it was just getting there, but this was the issue that tied it all together, I thought.
Yeah, definitely so. Definitely so. And then, let's see, Batman Superman number 6. It's probably the last one I'm going to get, man. I like some of it, but I don't love it, and it's just...
I thought it was fucking stupid.
Yeah, I mean, this was the worst one. Like, it really started out the first, the first basically, 3 to 4 issues were an arc, and they were pretty good, but it just wasn't great, and the weird...
Trying too hard.
The weird idea of, like, every page telling it from Batman and Superman's point of view just kind of gets exhausting. Like, it's just... I saw what happened. I don't need to know exactly. It would be like watching a basketball game, and after every play, like, hitting pause, and then going and listening to some other play-by-play team do the play-by-play. It just gets exhausting.
They've just been trying too hard on that book.
Yeah, and this story wasn't great, and it's crazy that Greg Pak is writing this.
And writing action comics, which is amazing. Which is
so awesome.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, but... I think that one's getting the boot. It just isn't living up to it. Maybe they'll turn it around at some point, but
I hope so. You'd think the formula for a successful Superman Batman book wouldn't be difficult, but it's just like they're really trying the experimental shit on that book, and it's not what I'm reading it for. So
you just want to see them go out on adventures and kick ass, and it's really a thing where you can see their relationship, which we'll talk about in a minute, in Superman and Wonder Woman, which was awesome. You want to see more of that, just them kind of like being Clark and Bruce and, you know, being able to talk to each other, because even though, you know, they're different, like, from their own perspectives, like, they're the two most powerful people in the DC universe for different reasons, and they're totally opposite, and, you know, but weirdly because of that, they can kind of understand each other. And you want to see that with a combination of them just having, like, big stories where it takes the two of them. Like, why would Superman and Batman get together unless it really needs the two of them to, like, you know, to stop something, which you really haven't seen in this. Mm-hmm. And then over to, let's see, I got a couple Bat books there. I got Detective Comics number 26. It keeps rolling on.
It was a good one.
It was good. It is surprising. There's been so much that's happened between Detective, really, since Layman took over.
That was the Man-Bat shit,
That's had to do with Man-Bat. Man-Bat's been in and out of this book forever.
Well, Man-Bat was the backup for the longest. That was like the one issue that tied it all together, and I thought that was a cool way to do it, because it's like, okay, you run these little backups that you're kind of an afterthought, really. Like, Man-Bat hasn't really been in the main story of Detective. It's just the little backups about him and his wife. And then this whole issue is just like the cap on it all. So that's kind of a cool way to do that and something unique. I think they did that with Shazam, too, didn't they? Didn't they dedicate a whole Justice League issue to the last...
Yeah, they did. They did one shot with just Shazam to finish it off of a Justice League issue,
Yeah, I like that. Keep doing more of that, DC.
Yeah, so it was cool. It was good. They have made Man-Bat, like, pretty cool in the New 52 so far. And it was a good issue. You get to see... found out that Man-Bat was really his gimmick. He's really not a bad guy. He just... becoming Man-Bat fucks him up, and this whole issue, you got to find out all this crazy stuff that's happening to people. It wasn't him, it was somebody else who got a hold of serum, so Batman had to let Man-Bat, like, unleash and give himself an ultra dose to, like, help him take it down. So that was a cool concept for a book. Then on to Batman number 26...
Solid gold yet again.
It's always good. I mean, you really can't say anything that hasn't been said about Snyder and Capullo.
They've set such a high bar, man. It's like whoever has to follow them on that book's really going to be in for a shitstorm.
Yeah, like I said, hopefully that's, you know, in issue 80 when the new person takes over, but it's been so good, and like every issue just gets you more and more pumped for the next issue. Like every issue you're also just sad that it's going to be a month until you get to read another one. Even with Crazy Bruce with his military haircut.
Fucking buzzcut Bruce is such a hard ass. And he fucking tells Gordon the what for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was looking at this book too. It looks like, good luck with this name. FCO's the first name. FCO.
Okay.
FCO. FCO Placencia is doing the colors, and that's really good too, man. Like, shout out to that, because the colors have really been really awesome in this 0 Year 7 in this issue. And it was another good one. You get to find out that in this version, you know, young Bruce Wayne and Gordon were not exactly friends at first. Like, Bruce, you know, knows how corrupt the Gotham Police Department is, so he just assumes right off the bat that Gordon must be as corrupt as everybody else, and he's
shit about the trench coat.
Yeah, and he does not like him. Yeah, that was a great thing.
What trench coat, motherfucker?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I had to, just because I didn't want to end on this, because it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't bad, but the Green Lantern 26, actually pretty good, but just not on the level of the books you're about to read, so I wanted to get it out of the way, because Superman Wonderwoman was definitely pick of the week. I mean, you almost have to take Snyder and Capullo's Batman out of the equation, because it's always going to be the pick of the week.
It's always, whatever week it comes out, then...
But Green Lantern 26, you get to see the blow-off of their first little encounter since the power rings got all fucked and everybody abandoned, and now they're trying to hunt down people that misuse the power because they know that it's not infinite any longer and it could run out. So it's a dismal fucking failure, and how to take down one person has to call in the entire remaining Corps, and it's a giant disaster for him. So you see he's got a lot more to learn when it comes to leading the Corps, and if Venditti stuff continues in this manner, like, I'm going to be really excited for it, but I'm telling you, I'm still leery because Green Lantern has evented me to fucking death, so one more event, then short succession, and I might still can it, but I think it was good in reestablishing where they're going with the title.
Yeah, absolutely. Then on to what this time last year was a real laughingstock of the DCU, books about Superman, which has become a real strength between. I gotta say, man, this is crazy territory because I really like Superman Unchained, but I probably like Superman and Wonder Woman better.
I think Superman Wonder Woman's like the best book they've put out in forever.
Yeah, and this Action Comics really gives me hope that I'm really going to love Greg Pak's run on it.
Oh, he is killing it, dude. He knows how to write a fucking Superman and
when you add Batman in, not as great, but just Superman. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, we got to see Lana Lang, who's electrical engineer in the New 52, so she's out doing stuff, which is good. That gives her a job. It gives her an excuse to possibly need Superman every once in a while. She's not an electric engineer, just like at people's houses or at your local power plant, of course. She's got to go out on exotic expeditions.
It's the dangerous locales.
Why else would Clark ever have to show up? But yeah, it's awesome. You see, she's out, she gets in trouble. Clark shows up to save the day. It's really the definition of Action Comics, which is always supposed to have been the deal. Like, it's Superman having big adventures, and he comes out, has a bunch of fights, does some stuff with Lana. It's great.
It was just grand,
and
it's like Superman at its core. He's got to fuck up the monster, and he really doesn't want to because he thinks it's just some fucking confused animal, and so he ends up saving the day and saving the monster as well, and in the true Superman fashion.
Yeah, and then at the end you get something crazy where a very Nightcrawler-looking character, he's put the monster back in the Fortress of Solitude, has it contained, and his zoo there, which now zoos become like a bad word, so whatever you want to call it, where he's got all of these creatures, obviously from different worlds, different realms, all rounded up, and keeps them there for safekeeping. And he puts the creature in there, like he said, and then by the end of it, he sees that he's got like I said, a little Nightcrawler-looking creature is laying there. So
did it turn into Nightcrawler? Did it birth Nightcrawler?
I don't know. Find out. Yeah, we'll find out next issue. But it was really interesting. It was good. It's a real fun book. He really has Superman's voice down, and having Lana show up for an issue was pretty badass as well. So yeah, really pumped up. I mean, that one issue I really like. It could very well. I mean, we really could have like 3 super stellar Superman books on our shelves now.
Why is he
if regular Superman would just ever get out of the hands of
the Lobinator?
Yes, then maybe it too will become really good again.
I do find it fucked up that they introduced the character Hell in that book before they introduced Zod in this book, and they even address it.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Speaking of.
Yeah, Superman and Wonder Woman number 3, man.
We spoke quite a bit about it already, but now here's the official review.
Yeah, man, real surprise. I mean, this is one I didn't add to my pull list. It was one that when they announced it, I was like, another one of these books, because Batman and Superman I hadn't loved. So I was like, we'll check it out. So I just picked up the first one because they had plenty of issues of it. And
that's what you were looking for.
So glad that I did, man, because it's awesome. I really love, Charles Soule writes Diana different than Azzarello does, because in this, a lot of it, the idea of like a lot of this book just does have to do with the relationship between Diana and Clark. At first would make you think it's going to be lame, but it's not. All the stuff they do, the character work between the two of them is awesome in the book. This issue, you can see Zod introduced, which Greg Packett did a great job of, and that Zod issue in Villains Month was badass, and in this one...
It's a direct follow-up to what happened in that book.
Yes, exactly. Zod shows up in the New 52 in their world, and, it's pretty great. The military decides Steve Trevor shows up with Martian Manhunter and the JLA, and they're going to take Zod and put him in a prison, and Superman says, I don't think so. He's from my world, so I hold domain over him, basically. So he decides to bring Zod back to the Fortress of Solitude, so he can, try to figure out, if he's trustworthy, if he's good, and, figure out what's going to happen with him. But it's awesome. Like I said, it's just great. The dynamic that he has between Superman and Wonder Woman is fantastic so far in this book.
Superman and Batman talk chicks too, which is pretty fucking outstanding.
That's great right off the bat. Yes, right. One of the very first scenes is you get to see that Superman is basically, he doesn't know how to deal with Wonder Woman because, it's Diana. You could never date anyone like that because, so he's trying to get Batman's actually giving him a little bit of advice. So that's pretty hilarious. And he's giving the type of advice that you would expect Batman to give.
Oh yeah, he's a real dick about it.
Yeah, so
that's good. And I love the dynamic of Zod, starting out as a friendly. That's how they did it in Smallville, and have done it in some other incarnations of the Zod storytelling. But of course, he would want to be friendly with Clark at the beginning because he's one of his people. But once they start talking ideals and he starts accepting Zod, of course, Clark's flaws, he's going to try to see the best in everybody. And that's, he can easily punch out a giant monster from another planet. But when it comes to one of his own people who he can relate to on that wavelength, he doesn't necessarily see the evil coming. And you can really see how they're building up a great storyline with that.
Yeah, and then at the end you get two things. And the whole issue, the kind of narrative is built around... From Wonder Woman's perspective, is that she wants to get Clark a Christmas gift, but what do you get for fucking Superman? Finds out it's just alone time with Wonder Woman. Great gift.
That fucking sounds like a great Christmas present.
And then the end of the issue, you get the bombshell drop that somehow the news, because they've been hiding it, has caught on to the fact that they're together, and now it's going to be a thing. So you can only imagine how that's going to play out.
Yeah, fantastic cliffhanger at the end. It was just that's... a few books I say, that's why comics were invented. That's why comics were invented. Seriously. It's great. It's a great book, and and anyone who doesn't like it is nitpicking it for all the wrong reasons. It's been getting great reviews of what I've read. All I've seen is there's been some people that didn't like it, but for the most part, it's been getting crazy good reviews, and yeah. In this day and age, is there anything that someone doesn't like? At this point now, even if it's just, it's good and they do like it, you're going to have people being that wants to be the asshole that wants to be different,
Yeah, I've heard people don't like Back to the Future. And if a fucking atomic bomb was about to hit and I only had room for so many people, that would definitely be a qualifier for not getting to live.
Like Back to the Future? Well, we got a fucking battery and a portable DVD player, and we're going to watch this son of a bitch on repeat until it ends.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's it. It's a good couple weeks for comics. Had some good issues in there. Next week, I get hit hard again. I think I have 7 books next week.
I think next week's
a couple of $2.99ers, but I got a Daredevil coming up, so that's exciting. I have, I think I only have one DC. I think that was my deal. I've only got I think I have one DC book, and then I get nailed with a bunch of Image books, which I say I get nailed, but it's awesome. I believe I get possibly Revival. Yeah, it's like Revival, Sex Criminals, that whole crew of books comes out next week, so that rules. And then also have Daredevil, and that'll be the last week. 'Cause the next 2 weeks after that are super light, because on Christmas Eve is when the next Wednesday falls, or Christmas.
Christmas
So
Day.
the books are coming out on Christmas Eve on Tuesday, and they're only putting out like 10 books. We have a couple of them, but I think I only have one. I think there's another Justice League issue coming out quicker than normal, just 2 weeks later.
There's got to be a Forever Evil coming out sometime soon.
I think it's the week after that, or
Okay.
maybe this week. I don't know, but yeah. And then the week after that, I only have 2 books. I only have 3 between, Christmas Eve and then New Year's Day is the next day that books come out. So those are both, or maybe New Year's Eve. I can't remember, but those are both really light weeks coming up after next week. But
All right.
got lots of indie books next week. So yeah, New Fatale, that's coming. So pumped for that. So until then, even though it's going to be Christmas Eve, get away from your family, tell Santa to fuck off, go to the comic book store, and just get your pulls.